There we go. Hey, good afternoon, MLS Listings. Getting all my buttons pushed on my Zoom screen here, getting things all set up for you. Hey, welcome to MLS Listings Live. We've got the first show of 2022, going to be with Dave Wetzel. Of course, you bring the CEO on your first show of the year. So Miranda, let's go ahead and bring Dave on the screen. And as some of you know, you read our promotions, you saw us at the bottom of the pro banner, going to talk about, hey, what's coming up in 22, what got accomplished in 2021. And Dave, right before I came on, I got to thinking about the number 22, because a while back, Miranda, our producer, said, 2022, and the first show is our 22nd show. That seemed too coincidental. So I looked up the meaning of 22, and it turns out the meaning of 22 in numerology is strength and accomplishments, which completely plays into
wow
what we're going to talk about here, because it's the strength of MLS Listings as a very unique MLS in the United States that allows us to produce accomplishments, especially like we produced last year. Now, last time you were with me was September of 2020 or 2021. And we talked about shifting sands, right?
We did.
Technology is moving, and sometimes it surprises us where it moves. But some of those shifting sands of technology are playing into what we did accomplish last year and what we will be accomplishing this year.
That's correct. That's correct. So I think we may have talked before when we did the shifting sands around some of the MLS aligned work and how we are partnering with other MLSs to come up with some showing software. And we'll talk about that in the 2022 work, but it also impacted the work that we did in 2021. There were some things that we implemented and then we had to change because of some acquisitions of vendors and such. So sometimes it impacts us in a positive way, and sometimes it's just more of a hindrance that we have to go back and do things twice.
And we had to do a couple of things that had nothing to do with technology, had just the world and all the changes we've been through in 2020 and 2021. That drove us in certain directions as well.
It did. And it's hard to believe we're still in this whole pandemic thing after all this time, but yeah, we saw some of that in the work that we did in 2021. Hopefully less of it going forward into 22, but time will tell.
But I think it's, once again, it's the strength of our organization, the uniqueness of how we're put together that allowed us to make those changes during those difficult times to keep our marketplace moving, to keep our members get ahead of things, keep the capability out there, the functionality out there.
Absolutely.
So, hey, before we go, I want to just remind everybody, once again, thank you for being with us today. Bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A button. So if you've got a question for Dave right now, or as we go through and we start talking about stuff, pop those in that Q&A area. Miranda's gathering them all up. She's going to start sending them to me, bundled all up nice and pretty, and then Dave will attack those when we're all done here. So
sounds good.
Dave, let's start with 2021 and sort of breaking it down by quarter of what got accomplished, what were we forced to do. I think one of the biggest things that happened 2021 was the MLS Alliance and the greater data share.
That's true. So the 7 MLSs in Northern California came together. We'd been working together for quite some time, but then towards the beginning of 2021 is where we added San Francisco, Barry's, and MetroList into the data share, which already included Bay East, Contra Costa, and Bridge MLS. So then the data share was the 7 of us. And so, as you know, if you go into Matrix, you can see all of those listings. And what's interesting is that initially, a lot of people thought, well, if I'm selling something or buying something in Sacramento, then I guess I should need the MetroList listings. But these days, listing agents travel and move around. And so even if you look in our counties here, you'll find a handful of listings where the listing agent comes from one of those other MLSs. So if you want to see the complete list of listings in, say, Santa Clara County, for example, you have to have all of those data share listings to see the full set.
Right. And that's so important because, your buyers coming to you and they want to see every listing in Campbell. But in the old world, we only saw what the MLS listings members did in Campbell. Now you see that East Bay agent who's listed in Campbell, that San Francisco agent that's listed in Campbell.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah. And there are not that many of them, but in these tight markets, you certainly don't want to miss out on one, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So data share is taken off. Everybody's getting used to it. We're moving things back and forth. But Dave, it's not, data share is going to be work in progress probably for a while, right? Because we're almost trying to, right? These guys speak French, they speak Russian, we speak English. How does it all work together? That's the challenge. But the alliance is is where everybody meets from these MLSs to work through these conditions.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. So little known fact is that the 7 MLSs meet monthly, and we talk about what are the rules that we each have, what are the rule differences, how do we make sure that the rules are as close as possible to being the same across them. The customer support teams get together and talk about what are some of the common customer support issues that each of the 7 MLSs are running up against, and how does Jeff McBride, who's our director of customer support, how does he escalate something over to one of the other 6 if it happens to be something that comes to him first, but the other people are the ones that would take action. So all the different cross-functional teams within the 7 MLSs meet on a monthly basis, and then we have a CEO call where we meet on a monthly basis, and we get all of these folks together to then share what they've learned from these other groups. And so there's a whole set of meetings on a monthly basis with the 7 MLSs of Northern California.
But it's so that data and that collaboration between the MLSs is vital for keeping the real estate professional sometimes up there, at the same level of I can find that property as their customer, right? This is really providing some equality, but the fact that you guys we're working all together specifically for MLS listings is our agents now have probably the most robust, right? That was a good, robust set of data, deep data, county data, history of property. We're really starting to repackage the data for the benefit of the MLS listings member.
Yeah, we're doing a lot with that data, and we can talk a little bit more about it as we go further into 2021 and talk about some of those other projects we did there, because there's some there that we did towards the end of 21.
Okay.
But if we're still back in the beginning of 21,
right?
We did a lot of work at the beginning around that Northern California data share launch, but we also came back and touched on the members only features and functionalities several times. So if you recall, members only came out in 2020.
That's correct.
And we got a lot of feedback, and we listened, and we brought some of that feedback back to the board and said, well, here's some enhancements that we're hearing about. Can we make some policy changes, make some tool changes, and put those in place? And the board said to run with those. And so we made a number of changes throughout 2020, but then in the early 2021, we were continuing to make some of those changes.
Right.
So some of those
polish.
To keep that polished, and some things that are around days on market, some things that are around some of the price history and things like that.
Price history, big one.
Yeah. So that came out towards the beginning of 2021 too, and a lot of that was it was very what I would call interrupt driven, meaning that it wasn't something that I could say, hey, here's a project plan, it's going to be done here, and here's all the different. It was, no, wait a minute, time out, stop what you're doing, please go ahead and do this. This is a very critical thing. Get this in. So a lot of that was taking something that we were working on and just setting it aside, running off and doing some of that work, and then coming back to those. And it's great if you were one of the people that said, hey, I really need that members only feature to be enhanced. Not so good if you were one of the people that were waiting for that thing we were working on, that then we had to kind of set aside and come back to it. And that's always hard to do. frustrating from an engineering perspective to set something down and then
Probably.
come back to it. But we looked at those as they come in and say, what's the priority for this one? Oh, this one's this hot one that we just got interrupted with, top priority. Let's set that aside. Let's go do that.
Right. You know, and I think, Dave, that's the it is so, this is all about the word feedback, because you and I went out and, you know, you came into office and you immediately kicked everyone out of the office. That story is always going to be told and sent everybody home. But
Yes.
then you and I and the rest of my team and Robert Bustamante and Jeff McBride, we went out and started listening more, right? And we put ourselves and we asked for the feedback, and the membership responded. The membership really started to participate more. We're going to talk about new levels of participation and feedback when we talk about next year. But as you said, this all came from you, the participants out there listening right now, telling us what they need, and our abilities to do those things, because we've got the skill set in the office, and then that ability to reprioritize when necessary.
Right, right. We tried not to reprioritize as much as we can, because we've already told some people about something that's going to be out,
Right.
And then to have to disrupt that to
It's
do
hard.
something else, it's got to be a high priority thing. But these ones were.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one of the other things we started last year was that new dashboard, and I want to share it while we're talking here. Let me bring it up real quick. There it is. The new dashboard that we're working on.
Yeah. So we had some feedback actually pre-pandemic that the dashboard was really old, which it was, and not mobile friendly. So we started working on this dashboard. Yeah, that's the old dashboard.
That's the old one, right?
And we started working on this. Of course, a lot of these things that came up during the beginning of 2020 and into the pandemic kind of forced us to set this aside and work on some other things. So this did take us a little bit longer to get out than I originally had hoped. But we got it to a point where we said, hey, it's not completely done. All the features aren't there that we want to put in it, but there's enough there to work with to get it out and enhance it over time, continue adding some things to it. So it's got this initial set of things that it does. And if you are looking for a mobile dashboard where you're primarily going in and clicking on buttons to get to other places, which is kind of what the dashboard's for, it's there for you. You can do that. We've added some things, and what Mark is showing here on the screen is being able to look at recent listings, market watch. These are all interesting things that you can set up, and you can set these up for different areas that you are watching. Or maybe you just click on the X and you remove those from your view or move them around. So these are all different things that you can do with this dashboard that you couldn't really do with the existing dashboard.
Right.
And so we are going to continue to enhance this over 2022, but we've got this out in initially in its early stage in 2021. So that's out there and ready to use. And we're actually looking for more feedback too, because that's the thing we're going to continue to enhance it. And we do have a roadmap of things that we're going to put on it. But are there things that we should be switching around on that roadmap as we progress down that path?
In fact, I think there's some communications going out right now, today or tomorrow, reminding people, hey, this new dashboard's, we test drove it last year. Time to get in it and drive it. Take it someplace, get it set up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did test drive it first, and with a handful of people that wanted to try it out before it was generally available to everybody, and we got a lot of feedback that way. And then we said, okay, let's just change the strategy here from waiting till everything's done to we've got enough for that very first version, and get that out. So that came out generally available just towards the end of 2021.
That's correct. Yeah. So yeah, everybody keep an eye on your email, keep an eye on our social media sites, our Facebook site and such, because we're going to be sending out some reminders and some quick little, hey, look at this. Wow, you're going to be able to really be mobile now with MLS listings right at the dashboard, right as you log in. I think what they saw, Dave, which is the key thing in what we'll call the current dashboard, I username and password to get there, and then I got to start clicking again to actually get some information. New world, dashboard comes up and I'm already finding out about my marketplace right there on that dashboard.
That's the intent, is to try to get some intelligence built into the dashboard. You still have those buttons that you can click on to get to those places you want to be. But a lot of times you wanted to click on those just to get some basic information. And we've got the ability to use some of the APIs, the smarts behind the scenes to do that and create what we call those cards that Mark was showing.
Yep.
And so think of those cards as being able to do action 1, action 2, action 3, display something. And then what should we do next with our next set of cards?
Exactly.
What's that most common thing you do every single day, that if you had that one of those display cards that just showed it and you didn't have to take those steps, what would it be? That's the kind of stuff that we have been getting feedback on, and that's what you see there initially. But I think there's a lot more that we can do. And we're constantly talking to people in the field, agents who are using these things every day, to find out what that next common set of steps are that we can try to put into a card.
Right. And maybe that's something people should put down there in the Q&A. If you've got I got to have this thing right in front of me when I log in. I really want to see X. I really want to do Y. Let us know. Maybe it exists already, but maybe we should get it on the drawing board for you as well.
Yeah.
Dave, let's step into Q2 of last year. It was the Glide PEAD form. Wow. It was in, it was out, it was in, it was out.
Yeah. So we did some integration with Glide. It was great when we first had it. It took us a while to get that in place, working with a Glide company, but we got that there. It was focused on the PEAD form, but then CAR had some features of Glide that they were offering to all of the CAR memberships. So you could access it through our integration that way as well. But then Glide went through an acquisition, and we had folks that were worried about that called, and our board talked about it, and we decided we needed to remove the Glide integration. If people wanted to use it as a CAR benefit, they can still do that, but they don't need to have something that's promoting it right from our dashboard the way we were doing before. So, and right from within in Matrix as well. So,
and that was that shifting sand
that shifting sand. So hurry up and put it in, hurry up and take it out.
Right.
And so we've done that. That took some time. There was that moment in time in the middle there where it was really cool, where we had it, but now we've spent that time to kind of reverse that as well.
Right. But once again, the strength of the organization, the uniqueness of the organization allows us to do that. We don't have to wait for a vendor.
We don't have to wait for a vendor.
Next meeting.
We don't have to wait for a vendor to do that. We just have to say, hey, what's the priority for this? Is this something to interrupt the existing work, or do we put it in line? And I think that was another one of those where we said, no, we need to get that in place. We need to remove it quickly.
Exactly.
So then we took some engineers who were working on projects and disrupted them and said, okay, set that project aside, go do this. And then once that's done, then go back and pick those up and continue with those. And so that happened a handful of times throughout the year, but only after the analysis of, is this a high enough priority to interrupt?
Right. I think it goes back to, and we've talked about it before, it's local solutions that are decided locally. They're not made, in Kansas City or Southern California or Sacramento. No, they're made right here by the people who need to get the work done. Hey, let's talk about Rent Spree, one of our newer vendors in 2021, but they came up with a unique package that's free, always nice. But once again, a solution for our user base they didn't see before.
So around the same time that there was another rental platform that many people use that we won't really call out by name, but started charging agents who had rentals to put their rentals on that platform. And so then we found, hey, let's find something that's better, that's free for our agents. And so we put Rent Spree in place. So someone who has a rental can have the ability to put it on Rent Spree. And the reason you want to use Rent Spree is, and honestly, I got my arms around this as my kids in 2021 decided to go move outside of California, and they needed to find a place to rent. And they were telling me, Dad, we're using this such and such platform. it's really cool because we have to have all these background checks that the homeowners or the agents want, and we just do it through the platform once, and then it's available to all the different people that they're applying to, because they happen to move to an area that was really hard to find a rental, and they applied to handfuls of rentals, and all of that was taken care of. They paid for the background check,
Right.
and then it was available to different
Yeah, to everyone
listing agents who had rentals, right?
Yeah.
So it was great for my kids. It was great for who are the renters. It was great for the
right?
listing agents, because all that's taken care of for them. So
In a very nice online package too.
without a cost.
Yeah, with no cost. So, hey, Realist upped their game last year too. Now everyone knows Realist. It's that tax program from CoreLogic attached to Matrix. But they, as I say, they sort of upped their game last year with that sales score capability.
Yeah. So they came out with a sales score thing a while back, but if you were looking at a property in Realist, you can see what the probability of that owner wanting to sell was, but you couldn't. But you had to be looking at it, property by property by property.
Right.
And so what they did in 2021 was they made that searchable. So if I have a, if I have a workflow that says, hey, I want to go out and talk to a bunch of people in this neighborhood, but I only want to talk to people where I think they have a higher probability of wanting to sell.
Exactly.
Because there's 300 houses in this neighborhood. I don't have time to talk to everybody. I want to be more focused. Well, then you can use the Realist sell score searching and say, who are the ones who have a probability of wanting to sell of X or higher,
Right.
Whatever that might be for you.
Yep.
And then you could broaden that neighborhood that you're looking at, and only have to focus on the certain ones, not maybe go to every house,
Right.
or maybe not mail something to every house. So the flow that you have looking for that next client just became a little bit easier to be more focused through the Realist sales score searching.
Right. The analytics of the business, attacking it from a new level rather than just knocking on everyone's door and hoping somebody opens up. There's a science to it. We've been working that with Realist without sales score. But sales score brought a whole new level of training that we can make available for agents. So just a little plug for my training department. Check out our training calendar at the Pro Support site. I promise to show you where that is.
Okay.
Hey, one of those things we had to do, once again, because we could do it, we had to make changes to open house and to broker tours. And and these were tough because we've got 5 counties.
Yeah. And so in 2020, we turned them all off. Right. We said, hey, no more broker tours, no more open houses when the pandemic started. And then sometime in 2021, the counties one by one said, hey, it's okay. And so then we had to make it possible to, as a listing agent, to go in and say, I'm going to have this house as an open house on these weekends, just like you used to pre-pandemic. And broker tours, right? We have all these different broker tours depending on which association, which county. And here's a little known fact, interesting fact, is that most MLSs across the nation, when this happened, if they had multiple associations or multiple counties like we do, they had to wait until they were all ready to turn on.
Everybody.
Right. So if one association said, yeah, we're ready, turn ours on, but another one wasn't, they had to wait because it was an all or nothing feature within their system. We had, a long time ago, we had anticipated that if this happens, when it comes back on, it's not going to all come back on at the same time.
Right.
And so we do have this feature that's allowed us to turn on the open houses, because that was kind of common, but the broker tours, some tours opened up before others.
Right.
I mean, they were only like a few weeks apart.
Yeah.
They weren't that far apart in time on the calendar, but there were weeks where some were turned back on and others were waiting till they had things in order, and then they turned back on. Eventually they're all back on.
Right.
So that was an interesting feature that we have that most people have never thought of putting into their MLS system. So
yeah,
again,
but who would ever anticipated that we had to actually shut them off And somebody had to go, and it was the team, right? Your design team and your engineering team who went and figured out how to shut them off.
How to shut them off. Yeah. And then when we shut them off, we said, I bet they're not going to all come back on at the same
Yeah,
time. Oh,
we started
okay. Well,
thinking about it.
let's go engineer that in. And then sure enough, it was there. And again, this is one of those interrupt driven projects, right? We couldn't anticipate at the beginning of the year when the counties were going to say it's okay to turn these things back on. So we kind of heard about it and then had to quickly look at what does it take to do this, and then figure out, okay, that's going to take these two people and a tester to go and make that happen. What are the projects those people are on? Is this higher priority than what they're working on? Yes, it was. Okay, let's put those aside for a moment, get this in place, get it tested, and then back onto the other projects. And so yet another interrupt driven project that came up in 2021.
Right. But the solution came with the collaboration of our associations: San Benito, Monterey, Santa Cruz, Silvar, Silicon Valley, Samcar up in San Mateo County, SCORE in Santa Clara.
They're the ones who would tell us, hey, we would like our broker tours on, and we want them on starting on Monday or starting on Tuesday, rather.
Right.
Whatever, which ones they were, and which ones they wanted on right away, which ones they wanted maybe the following week. So yeah, we worked in conjunction with the associations to make that happen.
Right. Now we rolled into Q3 last year. We sort of focused on listing management primarily, made some changes to some data field. We brought in the term primary. Now you think, okay, just take out that word master, put in this word primary. No, it turns out that the word master is all over listing
There's
management.
several areas where the word master is, and so we had to go through and find those, make those changes, do some testing.
Right.
So and that went through the board to approve those changes.
Okay.
And you see that change happening in a number of MLSs across the nation too.
Right.
So, but and some made that change a while back. Some are still yet to make that change. So it's really just making that change at the right point in time when our subscribers, our board want us to do that. So
right. And I think
that happened to be Q3.
One of those things, Dave, that because we are unique, we're able to do things quickly. We're able to really monitor them, from the local basis, but it does take time to get that information down to all those vendors, right, that we're shipping the data to, because they've got to make the change down there as well.
Yeah, and in fact, I think Realtor.com, we did this in Q3. Realtor.com just made the change in January.
Wow. Okay.
So you'll see those listings with the primary on Realtor.com right now as well. But that was quite a while for them to catch up.
Absolutely. Original list price. Boy, this one's always been an issue. And guys like Robert and myself, Robert Bustamante, myself, Jeff McBride, we actually for a long, years monitored original list price, because they meant to put it in as 1.3 million, but they added 2 extra zeros, and now they've got $103 million property. Oh no, what am I going to do? We opened up the door a little bit to allow more flexibility for listing agents.
Yeah, because let's talk about what the ramifications of that was when that happened, right? What that meant was that there was an original list price of, what did you say? I was at 1.3 million. You add 2 zeros and you got 103 million. 103 million as the original price. So you see that in the history, and then you go, oh, okay, that's
well, that's sort of embarrassing.
That's sort of embarrassing, but okay, it's fixed now. And you think, okay, I'm done with it. That's let's move on, let's continue. But then there's going to be an agent later who pulls up some statistics around, hey, they're working with a buyer and want to make an offer in that same neighborhood to a different listing, not that one, but a different one. What's the average or the ratio?
Yeah, the sales to list price ratio.
Sales to list price ratio, to say, what are they typically going over list price for? What percentage over list price? And that's going to screw up the whole
everything
ratio, right? If all of a sudden now it was listed at 103 and then the actual offer was not 100.
A small enough town like some of them we've got, Marina or Saratoga with a limited number of listings, and you get one of those crazy original list price, it can mess up the whole town.
It can, and it makes it harder for all of the other agents
Absolutely.
who are relying on those numbers, right? So what would happen when that happened, right? So most of the time they'd go in and just make the change, and they go, "Oh, I hope nobody saw that. Okay, it's back to the regular price it's supposed to be."
Right.
Some people would call us and say to Jeff's customer support team, "Hey, Jeff McBride, you got to help me out. Can you change the original price back so that it was originally at that?" And so we'd get a lot of those calls into customer support and ask us to go in and do that, and we would try to help those people make those changes. But then that's actually manually going in and making those changes behind the scenes here.
A lot of different departments got involved in that exercise.
So Jeff's team would have to take the call from customer support. Engineering would have to go into the database and make the change, and then Jeff's team would have to be notified so they can reach back out and tell the person it was done. And so there was it was a village of people behind the scenes to make that happen. So we took a look at that and we said, shouldn't we do something better for that? What if we gave the listing agent a certain amount of time to go in and correct that and make it so that they can change that back to what was the correct original price. The intended original price, and do it. If you do it in a short enough amount of time that they notice, they're going to notice it pretty quickly. Usually, if they don't notice it quickly, the seller's going to notice.
The seller's going to notice. Oh yeah,
they're gonna know. And so then if we said, they're making this change in this short amount of time from when the listing went live,
right?
Why not just go back and change the original list price to be what it was supposed to be, and not make them call customer support, not make customer support go through this dance with engineering and back and forth. And so we did that. And I actually had a number of agents call and thank us for that, because they thought that was, they had fallen into that trap. It's
Absolutely.
not, it's not hard to hit an extra digit in there and
once
make
again,
that mistake. Happens a lot.
Happened a lot. This is the participation of the MLS listings member in MLS listings, right? They're feeding back, they're driving the change that really has an effect on their day-to-day business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we made that change and said, you know what, it's reasonable. If you got the short time there, it's clearly a mistake. And so let's do it. And we did that. So that went in, in the fall of last year?
Yeah, that was Q3. In the fall. So, hey, we came out of opening up that listing management door, making it easier for the listing agent to control that listing. And we stumbled upon a great organization out of Stanford University called Symbian.
Yes, and this was an interesting one too, where it was a group of these really smart people out of Stanford came up with this idea, and then they said, "Gosh, who should we work with?"
Right.
Here? And MLS Listings just, of course. And so they reached out to us first. I think we may still be the only MLS.
We still are the only MLS working with them right now.
I'm sure they'll be working with others.
Oh yes.
Because this is a really cool thing. If you haven't heard of the Symbian's the name of their company, Symbian Project. It is for ADUs, right, Mark? And what it does is they've taken a lot of really smart people to figure out how to write code, how to write programs to understand the state codes and the local codes related to ADUs.
Right.
And apply that to every property in the state of California. So now you can go into the Symbian website right from MLS Listings, and you could say, "Hey, can I put an ADU?" I've tried it with my house and my property, Mark, and I said, "I wonder if I can put an ADU in my backyard. Do I have enough space?"
Right.
And it had the whole layout of my property, and I said, "I want to put one right here." And it was red. I'm like, "Nope, can't put it right here." And so then I dragged it over here, and it turned into a different color. I'm like, "Cool," but that's kind of small. So I made it bigger and bigger bigger and it still was okay. And then it had links to potential designs and look
Yeah,
of ADUs that
a
could be
great
done.
design catalog.
Yeah. And so how is this helpful, right? Because we hear all the time that we have buyer agents who are searching for properties with ADUs. And those are hard to find. If
Right.
that's
Oh,
a
very hard.
if that's a key thing that your buyer wants, it's sometimes those are hard to locate. So what's the next best thing? Find one that they could add one to at some
Right.
later point. And so that will help. But there's another little known workflow for this, and that is your past clients. So, statistically speaking, everybody's they worked with a agent and they bought a house, and
Right.
then some number of years later, they're going to sell that house and move, right? And statistically speaking, I think NAR has some stats that say that very few of those sellers go back to the same agent they used before, unless that agent has continued to keep up with the clients. And so that's where they're, reaching out and talking to them or sending them email, some interaction, maybe it's social, but at the end of the day, they need to be touching those clients. Here's another piece of content to use to touch past clients, to say, if you're considering an ADU on your property, reach out and let me help you with that or whatever.
Right.
So
I've
you've
got a
got
new
another
tool.
reason to touch a client, a past
Right.
client, and that's the whole ADU arena with Symbian.
And in that crazy inventory market we're in right now, I really, I'd love a 4-bedroom house because I need the extra room for office or for schoolroom, things like that. Can't find one. All right, let me look at the 3s and I'll consider an ADU. Right. It's the
Absolutely, yeah.
flexibility that this offers our clients to work with their clients with different options. Once again, I've always said, making the MLS listings member the most relevant piece of the relationship.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that, Mark. So I could have had an ADU and be working instead of in my den where the
Right.
cat is on the other side of this door meowing
Right.
to just walk into my backyard, and instead of having the ADU, I have a den that made into from the ADU. So
I've caught one of my trainers working out of his garage with like 4 coats on, right? But he's delivering the class, but he's in because there's no room in the house.
the ADU would be perfect. So it's not always an ADU, typical use ADU, right?
Exactly. Hey, Dave, I want to bring up a slide here. So let me pop over the screen share again. There it is.
Yeah. So
this is our toolkit. Look
yeah,
how
we're
big
asked
this
a lot
is.
about, what kind of tools do we offer as part of the service? Because everybody basically thinks about Matrix, because that's where you go do all of your searches. You go look in there. People use the listing management tool to create
Right.
listings. And we talked earlier about Realist. A lot of people use Realist. But look at all these other things that we've got on the list here that don't always come to mind when they're thinking about the service that we have. So there's a lot here. We do have this on the support site too,
Yeah,
right?
let me run over to the support site. From any homepage, folks, up here in the upper right-hand corner, let me move a little toolbar out of the way. Right here, it always says Pro Support. And that brings you to this brand new Pro Support site. And we've taken that list, Dave, and put it right here in the banner area for everyone. So they can just click in. It's going to pop up that list you see. But here's the cool part. Let's say I want to learn a little bit more about MLS Touch. All I have to
You
do
might
is
look
click
at
on the
that and go,
logo.
I don't know what MLS Touch is. It's free. It's
Yeah.
there. What is it? Why am I not using it? What does it do? And so if you click on those, it'll take you to a link and it will tell you a little bit about the tool. And in some cases, like the one that Mark's showing here, there's even a video, a couple of videos,
Yeah,
about something to do with that particular tool. And so each of those have some links that tell you a little bit about them. So if you haven't heard about them, you go check those out. And we've kind of put them in different categories here. You see the different columns. And
right.
so that's why some of them are listed twice, because they actually do more than one thing. Matrix has the Realist part in the 360 view built in. So you see matrix under the tax data, you see matrix under the search area. So take a look at these. And if there's a particular thing here that you hadn't heard of, click on that, take a look at what we've got written up about it. And if it still doesn't make sense, or you still want to know more about it, then reach out to us and let us tell you some more about it. There may even be some classes, right, Mark, around many of these as well. So
absolutely. You know, we took 2021 from the outreach side, and we started integrating the training of these vendors right into our calendar. So you're going to find HomeSnap there, you're going to find MLS Touch there, you're going to find RPR there. But even more so, Dave, we started doing what we call vendor spotlights, bringing in the spokespeople for these companies and doing a little 20-minute, not a training session, but more of a feature benefit. What's going on over at MLS Touch? What's the latest thing you've come out with? How does that work for our members? So keep an eye on that YouTube site for MLS Listings. Definitely subscribe there, because we've got a lot more vendor spotlights coming at us in the next couple of months. As these vendors are now calling us and saying, "Hey, can we get back on? We just launched a brand new thing. We want to talk to your members." So yeah, join us on those vendor spotlight videos. That'd be a great idea. Hey, Dave, let me roll out of this. I want to remind everybody to, hey, use that Q&A button at the bottom of the page. I'm over here looking at my left here, and Miranda's already got here. There's an 8th question that's coming up, so we'll get to those in a second. But give us your comments, give us your needs, give us your feedback. Ask a question to Dave. This is definitely the time to do it. Dave, let's look forward. Let's go into 2022. We're just into the first 3 weeks of it now. Q1 launches, I think the dashboard, right? We've already made a little change to the dashboard, even in the last 3 weeks.
We did. Remember, we said that that new dashboard, we put what we had in place towards the end of last year, and we're going to keep making little enhancements to it. So you're going to see some additions going into that over time. We just did one, around the profile, just in the last, what was that, in the last week or so?
Last
we made
week,
some changes.
Yeah, this came out early last week.
So you'll continue to see some enhancements on that. We're gonna slide those in wherever we can as we go forward into 2022.
Okay.
So and then watch for the communications around those as they come out. We'll share those with you.
Got it. You know, Dave, one of the other things, and I was hoping to get an email back from Jeff, but in the email boxes for all of our membership is the Pulse of the Customer survey. Now, folks, I want you to look for the email address is going to come from Jeff McBride. We're going to make a change there when we send out the reminder. But it does say MLS Listings Pulse of the Customer survey in the subject line.
Yeah. So what is this? This is a brand new survey that we're going to do yearly. So we hadn't been doing these before, and it's just another vehicle to get some feedback from people.
Right.
But it's also the ability for us to look at trends and how well are we doing? How well are we doing in different areas? And the reason I wanted this first one to be a baseline, and so we can kind of see how we are. But then we're going to do it going forward, probably every January. I think is what we'll do, and then that way we can see how we're improving, or if we're not improving fast enough in some areas, let us know that too. Year over year, we'll be watching that and making sure that we're going in the right direction. Right. So this pulse of the customer survey is important so that we get a good baseline on there, and it's also a great way to give us feedback on things too. So look for that. If you haven't seen it, it's probably in your inbox somewhere.
Give it a look. We've sent out the original one, I think 2 weeks ago. We sent a reminder out last week, going to send another reminder next week, right? Because this material will go back to the board, right? We'll
be sharing this with the board. Yep, we'll be sharing it with the board. And we've had actually a lot of people do the survey already, a lot. But obviously not everybody. You'll never get everybody, but that not everybody means that some people might not have known about it, maybe hidden in their inbox somewhere. So that's why I wanted to highlight that here. and make sure that if that was something that you'd like to do, go find it, give us that feedback, become one of those many people who are giving us the feedback.
Right. Now, each of the questions has, like 5 options, built-in options for response, but we do leave a lot of text area for somebody, let us know, right? Give me 2 paragraphs of how you feel about that topic.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There's that in there. And then something I think, once again, unique. I think one of the first couple questions are, how's our board doing? How's our executive team doing? How's Dave Wetzel doing? Kind of thing, right? We're not just softballing it here. We're looking for the feedback, the response, the participation.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't really do a whole lot unless we ask those questions, right? And and so that's why we wanted to be sure that we had a good survey in place that we can take action with.
Right. They're tough questions to ask because you might get one of those answers, but once again, we got to know. You just put it perfectly. Yeah, we got to know kind of stuff. Hey, NAR, boy, they NAR has been messing around with the MLSs again. Let's talk about the policy changes that are already have been enacted, right? Or they went active on January 1st.
The policies took place on January 1st, and the code changes need to be done by March 1st.
Okay.
And so there are a few things there, and we won't have time to go into them in detail here, but happy to come out to a meeting and talk to them in more detail if we want to. Right. But this is another one of those areas where we say, here's some policy changes from NAR, and we need to make a few changes to the software to incorporate these things. Many of them we already complied with, so it wasn't a lot of changes, but there are some. And so that does mean, again, we talked about the interrupt-driven nature that we have. When NAR says, hey, this has to be done by March 1st, then we have to get it done by March 1st. There's a lot of other MLSs who are actually going back and asking to NAR to make an extension to that date because they're having a hard time doing that because they have their vendors who have to do that for them. So we are making some changes. Again, that takes some of the things that we were doing and puts it to the side as we get that done and back to those that whole interrupt story again. I hate to say that we had a project that we were working on. We're happy to get it out, but then it got stalled. So there's a little bit of that happening there, but most of that work is going to be done by March 1st, and then we're back to everything else.
Right. I think it is, Dave, one of those unknown challenges that our members sometimes they don't get to see the fact that, we were going down this path to build this product, but then NAR stepped in and we had to stop and take a left. That's not something we talk about greatly out in the field, but it is part of being an MLS in the good old USA these days.
That's true. That's true. I liken it to this time that my wife and I were supposed to be at her parents' house this one afternoon. So she said, we need to be there by 2:00. So we left the house in time to get there at 2:00. And then on the way, oh, wait, no, we got to stop at Lucky's because we were supposed to bring this thing that we didn't bring.
Right.
So we did not make it there at 2:00.
Right.
But that happens, right? It happens not just in software, but happens in life. And this is just another one of those things.
A lot of players in real estate, and some of them, send down, they're not requests to adopt. They are, you will adopt.
Yes.
Kind of things. Absolutely. Once again, I was showing everyone there while we were talking, Dave, the pro support site, there is a banner with all the NAR stuff. Robert Bustamante and I, my counterpart on the compliance side, sat down yesterday, put together about a 20-minute video where we sort of take all the legalese of those rules, and Robert breaks it down into street talk, right? Something we can all understand, and which ones apply and which ones you don't have to worry about. So that's being edited up right now by my team, and we'll have that up on that pro support site for everybody under that NAR banner. Hey, AccuList reports, they're hit. I got to tell you, Michelle Ronco and her activity out in the field with not only analyzing the statistical performance of the marketplace, but also providing those marketing tools that are so useful for mailers. You talked about the Realist Smart Score. What a great item to leave by your targeted prospective buyers and sellers. But we've only been able to do 3 for free, right?
That's true. So we're going to
So
make
you
some
guys are looking at
changes.
some new things for AccuList.
We're making some changes there too. I'm not sure exactly on the timing on that, but
Right.
we will be making that unlimited at some point here in the first half of the year.
Okay.
But we needed to make some changes to support that, right?
Right.
So it's going to be downloadable on demand and get it right away.
Yeah,
as
no more
opposed to
waiting
now
10 minutes.
you ask for it and then 10 minutes later it shows up in your email. And so in order to really support the unlimited, we had to go back and make some changes to the framework.
Okay.
And we're doing that as we speak. And then we'll send some announcements out when we have that. And then there'll be kind of a all you can eat mode as opposed to just get 3. So cool stuff there.
Yeah, Michelle and Miranda and I and John Aquino, we're all getting together. You don't know, we're all getting together to plan a great big promotion for this.
Perfect.
We're pulling out all the stops on this one. So we'll be ready for it when it happens. Hey, you got a shirt on there. You got a shirt. I didn't get one of those shirts. MLS Aligned.
MLS Aligned is an organization that we're part of that is working on aligned showings.
Okay.
And we talked about this last year about wanting to get a showing product in place.
Right.
We are working on that as we speak. I don't have exact timelines for that yet. It's gonna. We're trying to get it in as quick as we can.
Okay.
It's in a beta mode with Utah and Arizona, and we've jumped in and started getting a version of it set up for us too. So stay tuned. We'll have that at a later point this first half of the year.
Got it. That's going to be a big one. Once again, we'll be ready for it on the promotional side. Hey, let's dive into some Q&A. Miranda's got things lined up for me here. First one, now that we have data share, do we automatically get the broker cooperative agreement, or do we still need to do a separate commission request? So, you know, one of the key factors of an MLS is the cooperation amongst brokers with specifics to commission. So now that I'm connected to Bay Area to Bay East, do their commission rules now, you know, work with my commission rules over here?
Yes, they do. So part of the contract that we have with any of the MLSs that we're sharing data with is that the everything around the commission has to act as if it was somebody that was within our MLS that was doing it. So it's got to be cooperative across the MLSs that do data shares. Okay.
The Alliance has an issue with letting us put things on tour in San Francisco. Is there a estimated time of arrival on ETA on when this will be fixed for agents who cross into the North Bay? So we've got the agreement in with SFAR. Now, what about Barry's if I go up into, you know, to Mill Valley?
So interesting thing is when you're creating a listing in one of their systems and you want to put it from a broker or an agent from there wants to put it on tour, there's a manual aspect behind the scenes on the Rapatoni systems. You say I want it on tour, but then behind the scenes, the San Francisco or Barry's has to help make that happen. Whereas if you put it on tour here, our system knows that, 123 Main Street falls into this area, therefore it's this tour. It's the one on Tuesdays in this area. And so we automatically will make that data available to the association so they know what people want on tour. There's a manual element to that on theirs. We're providing that data to them. Okay. And then it's just a matter of working with them to try to figure out how they can get that last, yard over the goal line on their side. But that's an aspect or an element of the way that they do their tours through their systems today. Right. Not as automated as ours. Likewise, when they're coming in, so if the listing agent
the other direction, right,
coming in from one of those and want to get it on a tour here, their expectation is they just go, I want it on tour. They don't necessarily know that it's Tuesday or Thursday or
when to get it in, all that.
Yeah, so a lot of those listings come across from them and it just says tour on tour. And we have to then, our software goes in and does a lot of figuring out, what did this person mean? It's 123 Main Street. That means it's the such and such tour. And then
proper
we'll go
mapping.
ahead and we'll go ahead and change the data so it's reflected properly into the proper tour
Okay.
so that it can flow through our system to the associations.
Right.
One thing to remember about the tours too is that there are some common things that the agents just need to do or know about when putting something on someone else's tour. Not all tours operate exactly the same.
That's correct.
And so even though it's on the system as being on the tour, there could be elements of less people going to see the house if they thought that there was something that wasn't normal
Right.
for that tour. So knowing the local customs of how those tours work is important.
Right.
And that's
I think
something
this is also one of those-
the software can never say ahead of time and say, hey, if you don't have food at this tour, then the
Right.
next time you're never going to have anybody
You don't
coming
get
to one
on.
of your tours because that's a local custom over there.
Right.
You know, that's one of those things you just have to know.
Many times I think we find our team is able to do things more rapidly, and then we wait for the other side to implement. I mean, I see that a lot out there.
And then what happens is like just now, someone will ask us the question about what's happening in the north, and then we'll go, okay, well, we knew they had told us that they were going to have this done by a certain time, but we're past that time. Let's go back and talk to those folks.
Right.
What can we do to help them?
Yeah. How can we help you? Help us help you, kind of thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let us have a conversation directly with your vendor. If your vendor's not understanding the requirement, maybe we can help.
Right. And this is the power of the Alliance, working very much closer together than I've ever seen MLSs work. And I've been around for about 12 years now. Yeah, I want to go back to real quick to the data share, or to the new dashboard, because people are asking, multiple people, I love this question, how do I get there? This means people want to go there, kind of stuff. So here's the URL up on top, right? pro-dashboard .mlslistings.com. What I'll do is I'll talk with Jeff McBride. Let's figure out a way to get that URL someplace they can easily get to it, for that click over. Log into the regular Pro and we'll get you over to the new one. Let me see what I can do on that one.
And I think you and Tom are creating some short little videos on things here too.
Right now we are. Tom was with us a while back on a live show. And so what we're doing is we're going back into that live show and pulling out the hits, and republishing them in these quick little 1-minute blurbs. So we'll make sure to get that URL there as well.
Yeah.
So now we're
because
ready.
If there's a couple of 1-minute videos, it doesn't take long to look at it and go, that's how I set up that Market Watch thing that I just saw on the screen. Exactly.
I love the fact that asked multiple times. Could I post new multifamily plus ADU new construction listings on class 1 single family, and or what other classes? So multifamily plus an ADU, new construction. Wow, that's a mixture. But I want to put it in SFR. And can I put it in other places as well? I'm going to go out on a limb here on this one. Yes, you can, because you could use the multi-class function within listing management. Go to the Pro Support site, upper right-hand corner, there's a search bar, type in multi-class, and it will, I think there's a video there, there's a user guide, here are the steps you take in listing management. But yes, you could put it in SFR, and you could put it in multifamily as well. So that's an easy one. Call the support site. If
I was just going to say that after you look at the link that Mark just described to go look at, if there's still some questions, give us a call.
Yeah, let us know. Asking, I love it when they ask about training. Is in-person training going to start up again, or is it just online for now? So I can handle the first part of it. We are absolutely online. We have got, I think there's 8 to 10 webinars per week that we're doing, plus all of our vendors are on that calendar as well. Hit the Pro Support site, find the training button at the bottom, or in the big boxes, our calendar pops up. Dave, we're not going to get back even into our office maybe till March, right? We're still remote.
Well, we have to be careful there in March. Who knows? Maybe there's another variant that comes out. I don't know. But then one of the other things we're looking at too, Mark, is we're looking at the increase in number of people that you touched by doing classes virtually or online, even live ones. You had so many more people in those classes than you did when you're in a room. is one of the things we're looking at is, well, gosh, if we go back to being all in room and Mark has to drive to this location and then drive to that location, well, that means he is only doing 1 or 2 of those that day. Where if he
Absolutely.
was doing them online, he could do them back to back and he could do a lot more, and each one be a larger number of people in the
Correct.
class. So we're kind of leaning more towards staying with the virtual ones. They've been working for really well for
Yeah.
2+ years, right? So, or 2 years.
And we've added some modifications to the training program. Carlos, who does our webinar work, our online training in the live environment, where he captures those now and puts them up on YouTube, and he's always changing them out, getting the most recent one up there. So if you didn't catch the webinar, you can capture it on the YouTube channel. The other option, of course, that we've recently started working with is our new office hours, right? Where it's not a set topic, but boy, you got a trainer there. You got Michelle from Aculist is there. Jeffrey
These are
from
virtual office hours, right? It's meaning that
virtual.
I just call or Zoom in, or however, was it Zoom that we're doing them with?
Yeah, we're using Zoom on that one as well.
Zoom into them, and so much easier to get to than if I had to go drive to an office and be there and all that. But hey, this is an area that you can give us feedback on. So that's the thought process that we have right now with the training going into 2022. And tell us what you think about that.
Cool. Someone had asked, do I need an upgrade to find the products and services tab? Nope, no upgrade needed. Your membership gets you through all the doors. Log into MLS Listings, pro.mlslistings.com, go to the top of the page, upper right-hand corner, pro support site, and there's that service, goods and services banner that we just put up this morning. We're coming down to the end of it. Miranda's given me the 1 hour time signal. I want to see if there's anything more important. Somebody's asking about a list of cities that are involved in the data share. Pro support site. There's a data share banner, and we'll actually give you a map of
There's
all
so
the
many
counties.
I wouldn't even know how to rattle off the cities off the top
the
of my
cities,
head.
that'd be a tough one. But we give it to you by county, and you can work from there. I think that's about it, Dave. We have given them a lot. We'll certainly, folks, if we didn't get to your question, Miranda's going to copy the question list down for us. So give us an email address, give us a phone number. We can get back to you with stuff. You'll hear from Dave or the other Dave or myself.
There's one last set of projects that we've got going on too, Mark, that we didn't mention. That's some of the enhancements around photos.
Yeah, we didn't have
There's
that
several
on the
different
list,
projects in that
wow.
space. Several different projects in that space, ranging from how do we improve the workflow to add photos in listing management or change the order of the photos, to projects that are looking at increasing the size of how we store the photos, to projects that are looking at how do I mark a photo private? Yeah, so privacy. I've sold the house. The buyer agent asked me to not publish or not make available the on the internet this particular photo, whether it's a bedroom or whatnot. But today you have to take the whole listing off the internet, and with this new feature coming out in 2022, you're able to say this photo and that photo I'd like to make private after it goes to sold, and the other ones can still be there. The listing can still be there, and so your future clients, potential clients, can still see that you listed that house, but you don't have to. You can keep some of those photos private. That one will be a little bit trickier to do because there are a lot of vendors who are doing the websites, but we're got that one in motion as well. Got it.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to go back to where we started with my quick little lookup before we came on the air about what the number 22 means: strength and accomplishment. And I really do think, even with all the sort of curveballs that got thrown at us and the COVIDs and the NARs and everything, we
all those
maintained the strength. We maintained our uniqueness. That's what allows us to do the accomplishments we get. We may not get them done exactly in the order we want to because we are drawn off. You've reiterated that a couple times now. Shifting sands draws us off. Policy at the national level draws us off sometimes. But we're constantly re-examining and sometimes reprioritizing, but we always do get back on the path. your example of the photo management is a classic example of that. We've had that on the drawing board for a long time. We've made accomplishments towards it, but we do get drawn off, but now we're back on it again.
Yep.
So Dave, we're going to come back mid-year and do another one of these, sort of give another update as to where we've been, what we've gotten done in 2022. I do want you back to do a new shifting sands, because the tech market continues to change, and it really does, as we see, has an effect on the membership of MLS listings.
It does. Yeah. That sounds like a fun one.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. Like I said, if you got a quick message or quick Q&A, we'll try and get to them and get back to you with an answer. Certainly, this is going to be available up on the YouTube site later on today, if not this evening. Tell a friend to go over and give it a view. Leave a question there for us. That's another place. Feedback. Participate in your MLS. It's paying off, guys. So, Dave, thank you very much for being with us. Really,
well, thanks for having me. This is fun.
You bet. See you later, everybody.
Make sure to check out our Pro Support page for additional videos on a full range of topics. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on our MLS Listings YouTube page.